Hello, fourth grade, and welcome to Module 7. This module is titled Energy from Natural Resources, and it's the last one in your book. We're going to open up directly onto page 288, and we're going to take a look at a photo of a biofuel-powered vehicle, and you're going to write down what questions you have. So let's go ahead and take a look at that photo together. So this bus is powered by biodiesel. So write down about 3 questions that you might have about this bus or about the kind of fuel it uses. Once you've completed that, I want you to take a look at our vocabulary for this module. So this is not just for lesson 1, this is for all of the lessons in module 7. You have alternative energy source, conservation, hydroelectricity, pollution, biomass, fossil fuel, natural resource, renewable resource, biomass conversion, geothermal, non-renewable resource, and replenish. So we're going to get to the meaning of these different words as we work through our lessons, but for now, take a look at them and see if you can guess what they mean by looking at some of the root words that you find in them, or maybe you do know what some of them mean already. Next, you're going to read the STEM career connection about the biochemist, and you're going to write what factors should you consider when choosing a resource. So what are the things you need to think about when picking a resource? So read through here and then make your decision and write down your answer. Once you've completed that, we're going to jump right into our main lesson, which is lesson 1, titled Energy from Non-Renewable Resources. Now remember, non means not, and renewable means it can be made new or replenished or refilled again. So non-renewable resources are ones that we have a very limited amount of. So what we're going to do first is we're going to jump into your book and begin by, you're going to begin in your book and you're going to complete this page about energy from natural resources. You're going to read through the different conversation with the friends, decide which one of them you agree with and why, and write down an explanation in your book. Once you've completed that, we're going to go to the next page and we're going to look at the photo of a coal mine. You're going to write down at least 3 questions that you have, read the section about the STEM career connection about the nuclear engineer, and answer the questions on the following page. Let's go ahead and take a look at that photo together. So this is a picture of a coal mine. Go ahead and take a look at this, decide what kind of questions you have about it. Write down at least 3 questions. Feel free to go ahead and pause the video here if you need to. Once you've written down your 3 questions, you're going to answer these 2 questions. How would you explain what's happening in the image? How is the energy stored in uranium atoms used? So take a look at the image right here after you're done reading. This will explain to you what's going on. Please use complete sentences in your answers, and then write down what you think a non-renewable resource is. Now we're going to learn more about these as we go, so don't worry about getting the right or wrong answers. Give it your best guess. Now, once you've completed these, we are going to move into our activity titled Limited Resources. How plentiful are the coal, oil, and natural gas reserves that we depend on for energy? You will investigate what happens when we use resources that are not replaced as quickly as they are used. So you're going to make a prediction. What factors control how long our energy reserves will last, and what factors can be controlled? You're going to work with a group, and you're going to put 20 pennies in the center of the group. In each round, each student takes at least 1 penny from the center. 1 penny is the basic energy that you need, and students may take as many as they want. However, the goal is not to run out during a round. Between rounds, the teacher is going to add, or if you're working from home, a parent can add to each group half the number of pennies that were taken. So if you and your group take out 10 pennies, your parent or your teacher will put back 5 pennies. So if it's an odd number, they can round up or down. So after you've completed 6 rounds, you're going to work on it for 6 rounds unless you run out of resources before then. Then you're going to answer the questions. What happened to the supply of pennies over time? How do the pennies represent non-renewable resources? And how did the different groups manage their resources? So compare your results to the other groups. What would eventually happen to the pennies if you continued playing? And then number 5 and 6, what will eventually happen to our non-renewable natural resources? And number 6, what factor controls how soon they will run out? Explain. So think about what's being used, how often it's being used, how often people are being careful about it, and those will help you complete your answers here. Once we finished up there, we're going to take a look at our next page in our workbook, and we're going to take a look at the meaning of our new vocabulary. So we have the word conservation, non-renewable resource, fossil fuel, pollution, natural resource, and replenish. So let's jump over here and take a look at these vocabulary words. Now, conservation is the act of saving, protecting, or using resources wisely. When you are conserving something, you are saving it. You're only using as much as you need. You're not wasteful. You're not using any extra. Next, we have fossil fuel. A fossil fuel is a source of energy that's made out of the remains of ancient once living things. So they come from fossils. Fuel, things that we use for energy, they come from fossils. Next, we have natural resource. A natural resource is something that's found in nature, and it's something that's valuable to humans. It's something that we use. A non-renewable resource is a natural material or source of energy that we find in nature that's useful to people, but it's really hard to replace. It's not something that can be replaced or can be regenerated easily. It takes a long time. Next, we have the word pollution. Pollution is any kind of harmful stuff that affects the earth. So it's either something that's causing or dirtying the air, the land, or the water. And replenish means to refill or resupply or to make complete again. So think about if you have water in a cup and you drink the water, you replenish the water by refilling that cup with more water. Okay, next we're going to watch a video titled Using Non-Renewable Resources on Earth's Natural Resources, and we're going to answer these questions. Let's go ahead and read through the questions first so we know what information we're looking for. That way, if you come across it during the video, you can pause, fill in your answer, and then go back and continue. Number 1 says, what are the 2 types of natural resources? Number 2 says, give an example of a renewable resource. What makes it renewable? Number 3 says, give an example of a non-renewable resource. What makes it non-renewable? And number 4 says, what are some other non-renewable resources? Let's go ahead and jump over to our video and we can look for those answers together.
Trees, crops, rocks, water. These are examples of natural resources, things found in nature that people use in everyday life. It is important to know where natural resources come from and how they are used. There are 2 types of natural resources, renewable and non-renewable. Renewable resources can be replenished. For example, when crops are harvested for food, more crops can be planted and grown again. Non-renewable resources are things that cannot be replenished once they are used up. We use non-renewable resources every day, perhaps without even knowing we are. Take coal, for example. Coal is a black rock found under Earth's surface. Coal miners dig out the coal, and at power plants, coal is converted into electricity. Electricity allows us to turn on the lights in our home, to use a computer, to turn on the television, and so much more. Another non-renewable resource is oil. Oil is also found beneath Earth's surface, and large drills are used to reach the oil and extract it. Another resource that cannot be replenished once it is used up is natural gas. Natural gas can be found underground or under the ocean floor. Drills and pipes are used to obtain this non-renewable resource. We often use natural gas for cooking and for heating our homes. Now that you know what non-renewable resources are and how we use them, can you figure out ways to use them responsibly?
Okay, now that we've made it through the end of our video, let's go back and take a look at those questions. So what are the two types of natural resources? We saw that very early on in the video. They listed the names of the two types. Now, let me see. We have renewable and non-renewable. Those were the two types of natural resources. And those are, here's non-renewable, right, spelled right at the top of your page. Renewable is just the same thing without the prefix non. So make sure you're spelling them correctly. Give an example of a renewable resource. What makes it renewable? So again, if we go back to the video, look at when they're talking about the crops and the things that can be replanted. Non-renewable, they gave towards the end of the video, they gave 3 examples of non-renewable resources and what makes them non-renewable. So you can list one of them and explain what makes it non-renewable here. And then you can list the other 2 over here in question number 4. Next, we're going to take a look at our textbook and read pages 126 to 127. And we're going to answer these questions. What is a fossil fuel? How did fossil fuels form? And how are fossil fuels being used? So let's go ahead and open our book. Humans and the environment, Earth's natural resources. A natural resource is a material that people can use that is found in nature. Natural resources can be living or non-living and include air, water, sunlight, soil, rocks, minerals, plants, and animals. They are classified into 2 groups, renewable resources and non-renewable resources. Non-renewable resources. Non-renewable resources are natural resources that are used up much faster than they are made. Metals, such as copper, are non-renewable resources that people mine from beneath the Earth's surface. These materials are used for building homes and roads and manufacturing cars, computers, and appliances. Once these metals are used up, they'll be gone forever. Many of the fuels we use are non-renewable. Some of our electricity comes from nuclear energy. Uranium is used in nuclear power plants to produce this energy. Uranium is a non-renewable resource. A much larger portion of the energy we use to make electricity and drive vehicles comes from burning fossil fuels. A fossil fuel is an energy source that formed millions of years ago from the remains of plants and animals. Layers of sediment build up on top of the dead organisms. These diagrams show how these non-renewable resources form. So let's take a look. Here we have coal, and then we have oil and gas. So dead organisms in swamps form peat. Peat is covered with layers of sediment. So sediment is little pieces of rocks and dirt that got carried over. And then pressure turns peat into coal. So you can see that all of these, this is how it's forming. There's the coal, it becomes, or the dead organisms become peat, and then the peat is covered with layers of rock, and then over time, the heaviness and the pressure from those different layers that are forming over it turn it into coal. For oil and gas, we have dead organisms fall to the ocean floor. The dead organisms are buried in sediment, so just like the coal, and the pressure there forms oil and gas. There are 3 main types of fossil fuels. Coal. Coal is the rock that's found underground. People mine coal by working in mines or by using giant shovels to dig away the layers of rock and soil above the coal. Coal is the most plentiful fossil fuel. It's used mainly to generate electricity. In fact, nearly 1/3 of all the electricity that people use in the United States is produced by burning coal. Oil. Oil is a thick, black substance that is also called petroleum. Like coal, oil is located beneath Earth's surface in the space inside rocks. People drill into the rocks to find oil and then pump it to the surface. Once the oil comes out, it's delivered to refineries where it's turned into gasoline and other kinds of fuel. It can also be burned in power plants to generate electricity. In 2018, 32 states are producing crude oil. Natural gas. When people find oil, where people find oil, they also find natural gas. Natural gas is colorless and odorless. It's pumped out of the ground through pipelines and then stored until it's needed. Natural gas is an especially important fossil fuel in homes because it can provide energy for cooking and heating. So here we talked about what fossil fuels are. We read about how fossil fuels are formed, how coal and oil and gas are formed. And we read that these are the three main types of fossil fuels: coal, oil, and natural gas. So what is a fossil fuel? How did fossil fuels form, and how are fossil fuels used? All of these questions we just went through in our reading. Next, we're going to take a look at page 130 and answer questions 8 and 9. 8 says, what are the causes of air pollution? And number 9 says, how can water and land become polluted? Let's go ahead and skip over to page 130. And we're going to begin reading where it says, people change the environment. You and the living and non-living things around you form an environment. In order to survive, all of the living organisms in an environment need clean air, water, and soil. People impact the environment every day. Sometimes these impacts are negative and can harm the environment. One example is pollution. Pollution is any harmful substance that affects the Earth's land, air, and water. One of the main causes of air pollution is particles that are released during the burning of fossil fuels. So while people are burning and using up these fossil fuels, they're releasing harmful things into the air that we breathe. Other causes include dust from farming, construction sites, and mines. Sometimes these harmful particles produce smog, which can cause breathing problems and eye irritation. Air is not the only natural resource that can become polluted. Heavy rains can wash fertilizers used in farming into lakes, rivers, and streams. These fertilizers can negatively impact water quality and cause a toxic kind of algae to grow. Oil spills are another cause of water pollution. In 2010, the worst oil spill in the United States history occurred when an oil rig in the Gulf of Mexico exploded, releasing 4.9 million barrels of oil into the Gulf. Littering has a major impact on the land. Sometimes people dump trash, chemicals, and other waste onto the ground instead of disposing of them properly. This dumping destroys habitats and can kill plants and animals. So let's go back and review what we were reading. We talked about the way air is polluted, and that's related to our questions. Now, water becomes polluted when a lot of these things, such as fertilizers and chemicals, are washed and pushed into lakes, rivers, and streams. Once they're in there, they are not only dirtying the water, but they're also killing off some of the natural plant and animal life there, and they're causing harmful things to grow and develop. And let's take a look at our caption. Smog is a problem in major cities where fumes given off by cars and buses pollute the air. So whenever you're seeing that kind of hazy, smoky look outside, that's smog. Okay, what are the causes of air pollution? We talked about a couple of those right here in this first, or technically the second paragraph. How can water and land become polluted? We read about those in this third and fourth paragraph. So you can pull your answers from there. Okay, next we're going to skip ahead and we're going to go to the bottom of page 298. We're going to read pages 132 to 133 in our science handbook and answer the questions after we finish reading. What are some ways people can conserve resources? Give an example of how to reduce resource use. Define recycle and give an example. So let's start there. All right, let's see. Pages 132 to 133. Conservation. Earth does not have an unlimited supply of natural resources. Many resources are being used more quickly than nature can replace them. Humans can help slow the use of natural resources through conservation. Conservation is the practice of using resources wisely. People conserve resources in many ways. Turning off lights when leaving a room conserves energy. Planting trees helps conserve soil. Taking shorter showers helps conserve water. The 3 Rs also guide people in conserving resources. The 3 Rs are reduce, reuse, and recycle. Reduce. Reduce means to lessen the amount of something that is used. The information on this page shows how people can reduce water use in their home. Paper is made from materials that come from trees. People can conserve trees by writing or printing on both sides of each sheet of paper. Running many errands at once instead of taking multiple trips helps reduce the amount of fuel being used. Installing low-energy light bulbs instead of standard ones helps reduce electricity use. CFL, or compact fluorescent lamps, bulbs, CFL bulbs use about 75% less energy than incandescent bulbs. Use water-conserving shower heads and take shorter showers. Do not leave water running when you are not using it. Wash dishes by hand. If you use a dishwasher, use a water-saving model so it doesn't run, and do not run it unless full. Fix leaks in pipes. Use a water-saving washing machine and wash full loads of clothes. Grow plants that do not require frequent watering and water your plants after dark so the water does not evaporate. Reuse. To reuse means to use something more than once. Cloth grocery bags are reusable. They can be used many times. These bags replace new plastic or paper bags. Old t-shirts can be torn into strips to use as rags or tie up plants in the garden. Scrap paper can be saved and used for future art projects. Food scraps can be composted. Compost can provide nutrients for soil and plants. Recycle. When an item is recycled, it's made into a new product. Many communities encourage people to put recyclable materials, including metals, glass, plastic, and paper, in separate bins rather than in the trash. These items are picked up and taken to a facility where they are cleaned and prepared for recycling. For example, old tires are sometimes recycled into soft playing surfaces for playgrounds. Plastic bottles can be recycled into fleece for clothing. Recycling products keeps waste out of landfills and helps keep soil and water clean. Recycling helps conserve natural resources. Plastic grocery bags are made from fossil fuels. Take your own reusable bags to the grocery store to help save these resources. All right, let's go back and take a look at our reading, at our questions. So what are some ways people can conserve resources? If we look at our book, you see a really nice list over here with pictures, and you can use any of these examples. Please use more than one. List at least 3 ways that you can conserve resources. Number 13 says, give an example of how to reduce resource use. So how can you use less of something? Again, you can also pull one of these examples, or you can pull from the reduce section right here that has a lot of important information. Define recycle and give an example. So over here, you can define recycle right here in this first sentence, and then give an example of recycling. Please remember to use complete sentences when you're going through this. Okay, next let's take a look at our following pages. Converting units. When people shop for a car, they often consider how much gas it uses. A fuel-efficient car travels a longer distance on a smaller amount of gasoline. This saves the driver money and also helps conserve oil. In the United States, we measure the amount of gasoline that a car uses in miles per gallon, or mpg. Scientists and people in most other countries use kilometers per liter, kmpl. To convert kilometers per liter to miles per gallon, multiply the number of kilometers per liter by 2.352. For example, 12 kilometers per liter times 2.352 is the equivalent, or it equals 28.224 miles per gallon. To convert miles per gallon to kilometers per liter, multiply the number of miles per gallon by 0.425. So 40 miles per gallon times 0.425 is equal to 17 kilometers per liter. Sam's car gets 25 miles per gallon. Jasmine's car gets 29 miles per gallon. Which car is more fuel efficient? So stop and think about this. That means on 1 gallon of gas, Sam can go 25 miles, but on 1 gallon of gas, Jasmine can go 29 miles. So think about that. Which one is using less gas to go a farther distance? Right now they're showing you for 1 gallon how much they can each go. So which one can go farther on that 1 gallon of gas? Lori's car gets 36 miles per gallon and Henry's car gets 9 kilometers per liter. How much gas does Henry's car use in miles per gallon? Which car is more fuel efficient? So first, what you need to do is convert this to miles per gallon, and then you'll be able to compare the 36 miles per gallon of Lori's car to whatever the 9 kilometers per liter converts to on Henry's car. And then you can do the comparison, decide which one is more fuel efficient. Number 3, Maria drove 64 kilometers on 4 liters of gas. Jerry drove 58 miles on 2 gallons of gas. How many kilometers per liter of gas can each drive? Which car is more fuel efficient? So if they want us to work in kilometers per liter, what we need to do is we need to convert this 58 miles per hour on 2 gallons. First, we need to figure out how much that is for 1 gallon and convert it. And then we can take this and divide it by 4 to figure out how much it's going to be for 1 liter and convert it. And then we can convert these, make sure we're using the same unit. So we can use kilometers per liter for both, and then we can do the comparison. After you've completed those pages, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the last parts of our lesson, the performance task. You're going to carry out an investigation, and this is one that you're going to do at home. So you have to figure out how many light bulbs you have in your home that you use for several hours a day, how many people use in your home, how many people live in your home, and then you're going to have your parents help you use the internet to research the population of your town and the energy sources used by the electric company. What sources of energy are used by your electric company? What is the population of your town? Calculate how many energy units the light bulbs in your home uses and how much energy costs. Assume that each light bulb from step number 1 uses 1 kilowatt hour of energy per day if it's on for 10 hours, and 1 kilowatt costs 10 cents. So you're going to use the space below to figure that out. I'm not going to have you create the graph. You don't need to do this. You can do it if you like. I'll give you extra credit points for that. Next, assume each person in your town uses the same amount of energy as your family. Calculate how much energy is used by your town in 1 day. Use the space below to show your work. So all of your math, show it here. How does your family's energy usage compare to your classmates? Think about the number of hours your family actually leaves the lights on in your home. Outline a plan to help reduce weekly energy use and include how your family members will be involved. Use your family's daily energy use. Calculate how much energy each person in your home uses each day. Divide the total by the number of energy units. Divide the total number of energy units by the number of people living in your home. This will be the average for each person. Use the space below to show your work. Number 4, why is it important to reduce energy use? And then our essential question, what are non-renewable resources? Think about the photo of the coal mine at the beginning. What do you know now about non-renewable resources and how people use them? You don't need to do the I did statement. This takes you to the end of the lesson. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, have an amazing day. Take care. Bye-bye.